In 2020, this comes as the country also takes the UN Security Council Presidency. Today is the last day of the AU Summit, and our reporter Sarah Kimani is live for us in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Let's cross to her now live. Hey Sarah, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's the last day of the summit. What can we expect today?
Well, today, presidents who chair the various committees here at the African Union are giving reports in a closed-door session. We expect that there will be a report on the conflict in Libya. There will be a report on the just concluded elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo. There will also be a report on conflict and how the continent can stem conflicts and how the continent can start taking care of its own refugees, probably looking at having one regulation on how, when a refugee enters a country, what is expected of them. Are they going to be given education? How do they get health services? There's also going to be a report on Zimbabwe and the conflicts that dog the continent. We also expect that the closing ceremony will be later on in the day, where President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi will outline his mandate for the year.
Yeah, we had some prominent speakers yesterday during, I guess, the opening ceremony. Among them, Bill Gates, Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president. Just remind us about some of the salient points that came out.
It was interesting listening to Gianni Infantino, and also interesting that he was invited at the African Union Summit. And indeed, you could listen to the people and hear every time he spoke, they were clapping, including presidents. And it's clear that football still unites the continent. And so he said that they would try to assist the continent's football, first with increasing funding from $23 million 2 years ago to just over $100 million this year. They'll also be trying to fight corruption. We've seen a lot of stories on corruption within the various local football federations. They will fight, they'll try to help enhance security in stadia, but they'll also use soccer to develop youth centers and to help young people to educate themselves. Bill Gates talking about the need for African governments to invest more in education, invest more in women and children, and especially in health, the issues of vaccination, malaria, HIV and AIDS, and tuberculosis.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the theme of the session this year, and it says the year of refugees, returnees and international displaced persons towards durable solutions to forced displacements in Africa. You would agree it's a mouthful, but help me to just break it down. What are some of the major issues here that the continent is facing? Give us the magnitude of it.
It's big. The continent set itself a target of 2020 to silence the guns. But when you look around, there's still a lot of areas that still have conflict. The Democratic Republic of Congo, the east of the continent, the east of the country where most of the resources are, is still bedeviled by conflict. During the elections, we understand in one day there was a conflict in one of the areas and 500 people died. South Sudan is still in conflict. The Central African Republic is still in conflict. Northern Nigeria. In fact, one of the reports that was released here by the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa indicated that in just the first half of the year, last year, these 5 countries that I've mentioned produced the highest number of refugees and internally displaced persons in the world. So Africa still are grappling with that issue, but there is hope. It is also the only continent that is very humane and also treats refugees and internally displaced persons well. Unlike those who try to cross the borders into Europe, those who stay within the continent manage to get education, they manage to get food rations, and so what they will be trying to do now is to see how do we stem these forced displacements, how do people continue living in their own countries, and how do those who are outside the borders come back to a peaceful country.
Another important point was the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. I remember when the president was giving his State of the Nation address here in South Africa, he said the agreement will see the creation of a market of over 1 billion people with a combined GDP of approximately $3.3 trillion. So that's significant indeed, Sarah. Tell us about the ratifications. Give us an update with regards to that.
Well, at least 5 more countries ratified, and including South Africa, presented their documents of ratification to the African Union Commission. So as we speak now, we have 17 countries that have ratified. We are just 5 short. And then once we reach 22 countries, the agreement can take effect. Yesterday, more countries signed, including Botswana and Zambia. So we have 52 countries that have signed the agreement. We just have 3 countries, and then the whole continent will have signed to the African Free Continental Trade Area.
Sarah Kimani, live for us in Addis Ababa. Thank you very much indeed for your reporting. Okay, we've got some breaking news now. Rescue efforts